And I struggled with even whether to get on here and talk about this because, LinkedIn is, what do they tell you? This is about business. And I've talked about these things on Facebook, and I've talked about it on Instagram, and I've talked about it on YouTube, and I've been in social justice movements, and I haven't really used LinkedIn because I kind of compartmentalized, as we typically do, as we always do. But then I'm reading all of the things that people are saying. People saying that they can't believe that there are these resentments that certain people feel. How do you not know throughout the history of this country why certain people feel the way they feel? Even if you don't agree, people stormed that Capitol because they felt like an election was stolen from them. 6 months before, at that same very spot, our government gassed people for just saying their lives mattered. Not that their lives were important, special, precious, great, just for saying their lives mattered. As a matter of fact, saying Black Lives Matter was a radical thing. Business communities spoke out against, we don't know if we want to say that. Really? That Black lives matter? That Asian lives matter? That women lives matter? That a life matters? How lower can it go than matters? And so I decided I have to be a part of the change that I wish to see. I'm disturbed by how many people say, but I didn't know you felt that way. Well, I bear some responsibility for that. This is going back to my point about using LinkedIn. Because like many, I've compartmentalized. Because like many, I've chosen not to share from the deepness of my experience because I don't want to make people feel uncomfortable. I, like many, have told the line of, it's unprofessional to speak about things that, are hurting me and keeping me up at night, things that we have fought for and believed that we had achieved, and yet we see it's still not there. And I realized that I'm part of the problem if I'm quiet and if I'm silent, especially when people say, we didn't know you felt this way. And let me say this, and then I'm gonna get off here. What you're gonna get from me is authenticity. I can promise you that. You're gonna get authenticity from me. You're gonna get from me as I begin to share from the deepness of my experience. I have had my foot in many different worlds, whether it be Baltimore City, whether it been Harvard Law School, whether it been in having lived experience in other places and systems and circumstances. And I've written books about this, and I'm going to begin to unravel and share some of those things because I think it's important that we begin to peel back the layers of the onion that we usually just present ourselves at work. Because the truth of the matter is, there's a difference between my job and my work. My job is what I do to make money, to make income, but my work is what I've been put on earth to do. My work is why I believed I was blessed to be able to go to a place like Harvard Law School when people who looked like me just 2 generations before couldn't even walk on the same sidewalk as the people that I was sitting in class with. So it was a reason why I was blessed to go to Morehouse College. It was a reason why, even in my darkest moments, I saw certain things because now I can tell the story. Now I can be a part of the change. And if I were to not share the story, if I were to not talk from the richness and deepness of my experience, I would be inauthentic and I would be wrong. And this is what I want to say to business leaders who might be listening. Before you judge, just listen. I'm not here for you to agree with me. I'm not even here for you to understand me. Just listen. As you listen to me, I guarantee you there's other people around you who feel the exact same way. They may never say it. Maybe because they work for you. Maybe because they're intimidated by what your reaction might be. Maybe because they just don't care enough to tell you. Because they don't think you'll make a difference. Or because they maybe think they've been silent so long, what difference would it make anyway? But I read so many books and I hear so many business leaders throw out these books from people who talk about servant leadership and being sympathetic and empathy and all of these wonderful abstract things. And then when I see on the ground in reality, when there is bloodshed and when there is murder and when there are people who are hurting and when there are things that are happening very real in our country, there's radio silence. And so it makes me wonder, is there a real disconnect between what people are hearing and what people are saying? Or is it really just truly that people really haven't heard others' experiences? As we begin to share, this is what Marianne Williamson said. Our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate, actually. One of my favorite parts of what she says is as we liberate ourselves, we unconsciously give others the permission to live freely as well. And as I share my story, maybe it'll give the courage for you to share your story. And I mean in discretion, I mean in fairness, I mean in kindness, I mean seasoned with grace and love. But let's begin to tell the stories so we can begin to make the change, so we can begin to make the promise of not just America real for Americans, but make the promise of humanity real, that there's intrinsic worth for everybody. Thank you.